Hello, we are doing different types of angles today, vertical, supplementary, and complementary. So let's get started. Okay, your objectives. You will be able to identify different types of angles, and you will be able to determine an angle's measure based on the type of angle. So when two lines intersect, they make vertical angles. Okay, vertical angles are opposite one another, like this. These two are opposite, as are these two. All right, now something about vertical angles. Vertical angles are congruent, meaning they have the same measure. So notice that this and this have the same measure. They're both 30. These are both 150. So vertical angles are congruent. They have the same measure. All right. Supplementary angles always add up to 180. So that'd be if you had a straight line and then a ray forming an angle. So any two angles that are adjacent right next to each other on a straight line will always add up to 180. And if you're told that they're supplementary, but they're not adjacent, that means that they add up to 180. This one is the one that you're going to see most often, though. So remember this, okay? Remember, complementary angles add up to 90 degrees. So let's say you saw this mark here, and you didn't know what these angle measures were, you could at least know that they add up to 90 degrees. So these are adjacent, meaning they're right next to each other, and you know that they're 90 degrees and they're complementary. If you're told they're complementary angles, but they're not adjacent, they would add up to 90 as well. But again, this one's the important one to remember. Okay, so angles can be complementary if they're not right next to each other, but this is the one that you're going to see the most frequently. All right, so let's take a look at an example. So find the value of x in the figure. Now, these are vertical angles. So what can we do? We can set them equal to each other because we know they have the same measure. So we say 5x plus 3 equals 2x plus 24. Okay, and we're going to get our x's on one side by moving this over to this side. And we do that by subtracting. Okay, so 5x minus 2x. And then over here, since we moved our variables over to this side, we need to move our constants over to that side. So since we have a positive 3, we subtract 3 from both sides because that'll cancel out. So that leaves us with 3x equals 21. And then, of course, to get x, you just divide both sides by 3. I don't know why that's over there. This should actually be over here. So divide both sides by 3. And that'll give you x equals 7 because it asked us to find the value of x. It didn't ask for the measure of the angle. If it did, we would just plug it in and make sure that and I would say plug it into both just to make sure the angle measures are equal. Okay? But in this case, it just asked for the value of x, which is 7. Let's take a look at another example. Find the value of x in the figure. Now you might be saying to yourself, well, how am I supposed to figure that out? Because I've got all these angles, but nothing that helps me here. Now, these lines, these marks here, mean that these two lines are parallel. So that's going to come in helpful, especially after what you learned about parallel lines yesterday. So what you're going to do is you're going to draw a line down, extending down like this. And what that does is this turns this line into a supplementary angle to that. Okay? So if this is 95 degrees right here, that means that this has to equal what? This one right here has to equal, well, 180 minus 95 is 85. Okay? Also, what do we know about parallel lines? Well, if this angle is 110, then this angle here has to be 110 degrees also. And again, we're going to go back to the whole supplementary angle thing. And if this angle is 110, what is this angle right here? Well, if that's 110, this has to equal 180. So that has to be 70. So this one we got by 180, not 18, sorry. 180 minus 95 equals 85. So that's how we got that. This we got because of parallel lines. And those are alternate interior angles. And then this we got by 180 minus 110. Okay, now, but that still doesn't give us x in degrees. However, if you notice, this here, this figure, forms what? It forms a triangle. So, if this is a triangle, we have 85. That's this one right here. The other interior angle is 70. And then x, and how many degrees are in a triangle? 180. So if you add these two up, you get 155 plus x equals 180. Okay, and then subtract 155 from both sides to get x by itself. And you get x equals 25 degrees. Okay, simple enough, right? Last example. So we want to find two possible solutions for angle PQR given the diagram. So again, this and this are vertical angles, so we can set them equal to each other. Now, that by itself doesn't necessarily help us. However, if we move everything over to one side, so we would add 6x to move it over and subtract 16. Okay, the reason we're adding 6x is because this is a negative 6x. So we need that to cancel out. We need this to cancel out. We're going to move the whole thing over, so we're going to get x squared plus 6x minus 16 equals 0. Okay, and then remember your quadratic formula. The opposite of b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4 times a times c all over 2a. So our a here is 1, our b is 6, and our c is negative 16. So when you plug that in, you get, I'm going to get rid of some of this so I have some more space to work. So I get a negative 6 plus or minus the square root. 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is negative 16, all over 2 times a, which is just 2 times 1, or 2. So negative 6 plus or minus. Now 36 minus 4 times 1 is negative 4. Negative 4 times negative 16 is a positive 64. So 36 plus 64, and that's over 2. It's the same thing as negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 100 over 2. And the square root of 100 is 10. So that gives us negative 6 plus or minus 10 divided by 2. Negative 6 plus 10 and negative 6 minus 10. Negative 6 plus 10 is a positive 4 over 2, or just 2. Negative 6 minus 10 is negative 16 over 2, or negative 8. So again, use a quadratic formula, and you're going to end up with a negative 8 or a positive 2. Simple, right? Okay, so but that doesn't give us our answer. That just gives us two possible answers for x. We want to find two possible solutions for angle PQR. So we plug the negative 8 in to PQR, which is this. So we could do negative 6 times 2 plus 16, which is negative 12 plus 16. So that's 4. And we can also do, oh, by the way, if you want to check it, if I plug 2 in up here, 2 squared is 4. So same answer. Or I could do negative 8. So negative 6 times negative 8 plus 16. Negative 6 and negative 8 is a positive 48 plus 16, which is 64. And again, if I use negative 8 squared is a positive 64. So we can get, shouldn't be 12. Should be 4 degrees. Sorry, my mistake. So it should be 4 degrees or 64 degrees is your answer. And that's it. So that's the end of this unit. We'll be doing a couple days review, so be ready for that.